Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of the Dynasty Fantasy Football League podcast. We had a few week hiatus for a few different reasons, some technical difficulties, sickness, and just me overall not being that interested in doing this. But tonight I got Colin on with me. We're just going to try to do a quick little mid-season update here, kind of look where everybody's at, see what it looks like going forward. So, Colin, how you doing?
Good. Thanks for having me. It was the preseason that I was on last, and so excited to be back.
All right, so let's look at. There's been a couple trades since I last was on here, and one of them was made between the two of us. We'll get to that second. Or sorry, there's been 3 deals. So first, you made this deal with Chris. So go ahead and chat about that one a little bit.
Yeah. So ultimately, I had lost Nick Chubb and Mike Williams for the year, and my depth wasn't where I wanted it. I had Love and Baker Mayfield, plus Herbert still, and ultimately, I was like, I need more guys, and this is the max that I'm ever going to be able to trade Hurts for, probably. And Jordan Love had actually been at that point scoring as much or about the same as Hurts. And I don't think by any means that Love is Hurts, and especially after he took a nosedive after I traded him. But basically thought, okay, well, if I can acquire Diggs and Pickens, and then I can stream Geno Smith or Love, or if I'm desperate, Baker, then I can get ultimately more points per week.
Yeah, I mean, when the deal went down, everybody kind of was like trying to figure out what was going on. But like you said, I understood the logic there. But yeah, I think maybe the Jordan Love was a little premature, and he had only at that point probably had like a 3-game sample. I mean, he looked good,
Yeah.
but it's just really hard to know. And I feel like I kind of agreed at the time, like, yeah, maybe Love could be this second quarterback, but now I really don't know.
Yeah. And I mean, Geno Smith, like last year, he was like the QB7. And I really I had him in a different league, and I enjoyed him as my QB2. I actually had Herbert and Geno. And so I was okay if just Geno was my guy as my QB2, and then Love was my hopeful product. But Geno hasn't been as good as last year. And so we'll see. We'll see. But ultimately I've been kind of calculating, okay, if I didn't make the trade, what were my points? And if I did make the trade, what would be my points? And because Diggs has been so good, I've been up. I mean, I've been up each week. And obviously Diggs is 30 or something, 29, 30. So that's not going to last forever. But ultimately, I think it's worth it. Hope Love becomes something, at least a QB2 for 3, 4, 5 years. And then I can have Geno if he doesn't. So
yeah, I'm just trying to figure out when when teams that are playing Buffalo realize that literally it's just Diggs. Like,
yeah,
it's just him. That's sometimes Gabe Davis will pop off, or somebody else will be, but it's always just Diggs. Like, you look at their stat line, it's like, oh, Allen's got 250 yards. Oh, 120 of them went to Diggs. Why am I not surprised? It's just, and teams just don't seem to be able to stop him. So,
and then just too, like watching Jalen Hurts. Like, I mean, I like Jalen Hurts. I think he's legit, and so this is nothing against him, but. And we talked about this. It seemed like his first couple of weeks were just inflated by like the 1-yard tush push, or what do you ever call brotherly shove, or whatever they call it.
The brotherly shoves.
But he's been like not looking great. He's thrown a lot more picks, and if he's not running, he's not. He's not. And ultimately, it scares me a little bit when you're investing in quarterbacks that primarily are runners, just because. Like a Kyler, like eventually they're going to get hurt, and then they're going to lose a lot of value. And so Geno's not really a runner. Love can run, but I wouldn't call him a runner. And so ultimately I'm just hoping I can get 80%, 75% of the value of
Hurts
through one of those guys, and then Diggs will just eat
Yeah. All right. So next was my deal with Dave here, and I've been complaining about losing close matchups and blah blah blah. This one I can just firmly blame. I lost to Dave because I made this deal with him and gave him who then went off against me for 30 some points. If I had not made this deal, I still would have had Mostert and won my matchup this week. I'd be 2-4. Dave would be 0-6.
So how do you still feel like you would make the deal, or you regret it?
I don't really know. I think value-wise, I still think probably getting a younger receiver is probably the better move long term. But sometimes you look, both of my deals, can look short term and say, like, what was I doing? I probably cost myself 2 matchups with the 2 deals I've made in the last couple weeks. So this being the first one, I cost myself a matchup with Dave, and then we'll get into our deal.
Oh, one thing I was going to say though is, to your credit, like I think Devin A-Chain, like before you made that, Devin A-Chain was not hurt, and
that is true. Yeah,
he was starting to take over.
Yeah,
it seemed like, and so it seemed like a good deal. And then Dave just got lucky that A-Chain got hurt, and now Mostert's getting all the work.
Right. And now, who knows? Jeff Wilson apparently is going to be back this week, so that could also be, I feel like they're never just going to use only one running back in Miami, no matter what. So, I mean, they can all, we've seen Mostert and A-Chain scored 4 touchdowns in the same game. So it's like they can put 2 running backs out there and they both go off, but inevitably they're going to eat into each other's points.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm a McLaurin fan, and he's a lot younger, and I mean, Mostert's 31 or something, so
31-year-old running back. If I don't think my team is going to win this year,
and so I was actually surprised from the Dave perspective, just being 0-5, and he's like, full send, I don't care, like I'm still all in. So, but I guess he's kind of he's getting his guys back, and he's adding.
He's already played like some of the other top teams, so I feel like he looks at his schedule, and if all of a sudden he's looking and he's going to play me and Jesse and Dennis and Matt and these people that are near the bottom of the standings, he could look at it and say, like, yeah, I'm 0-5, but I should win at least 5 or 6 of these matchups, and then if you get lucky in a couple more, you're all of a sudden in the playoffs, and once you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. So, as we've seen in years past.
For sure.
So then our deal, right? So obviously this one, in like the shortest of short hindsight, looked terrible because we made this deal at 1:13 p.m. on October 5th, and about 9:13 p.m. on October 5th, DJ Moore had already gone bananas. So it's like within 8 hours, I was like, what the hell is going on with this deal?
And DJ Moore went from like wide receiver 26 on KTC to wide receiver like 15 or something.
Since then, he has
he's lost some bets.
He's depleted some. This is a deal that, like, I felt Pickens for Moore was probably fair, but I knew you just wanted more, so I tried to get you to kick at least something else in there to get this extra third. This is kind of a deal that when I made it, it was kind of just like, all right, I'm pivoting off for a younger receiver who's, I've always been a fan of his talent. I just, get another random asset and just kind of, it's like a process move. Like, okay, I'm going to, get a little younger and see what happens. Kind of since we've made this deal, and I don't know if it's because it's like, oh, the guy's on my team now, so I like him more, but I've just kind of seen some different tidbits about Pickens that kind of has me a lot more excited about this deal now than when we made it.
Like what?
Just somebody I follow. They follow like different aspects of wide receiver usage, and Pickens is like lighting up their radar right now. So just a few of those things that, just the fact that he gets a large target share with also getting a huge air yard share. So like that's not as common as people think. Like usually if you're getting a ton of targets, it's like you're working short intermediate routes, but he's getting a lot of targets and still getting downfield.
So my biggest concern with Pickens is, I mean, I'm a big Pickens fan, so I think he's going to be good. But my biggest things were twofold. One was, what's his name? Deontay Johnson was been out, and so he's going to come back, so he's going to take targets. 2, I think Pickens, like he's the contested catch guy. and he's not the separator. And ultimately,
So actually, that was my concern with him in the past, but this year it's actually been a lot different. He hasn't been as reliant on contested catches.
he's separating more.
Yeah.
So basically, to me, I was like, well, I'm still nervous starting Pickens, and I've always liked DJ Moore, and DJ Moore is still only 26, and I felt like Fields was the better quarterback, which maybe that's not looking so good now, and I got unlucky that he got hurt, but I thought like DJ Moore is what I want Pickens to be someday, so I'll just go get DJ Moore, and I'll take a 4-year hit, but he's still only 26, so I can still have him 4 or 5 years. So.
Yeah. Although when Tyler Badgett came in, apparently he threw like 40% of his passes to DJ Moore. So
Hey, he's smart. Just throw it to your best guy. He's got, maybe he's Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs.
yeah.
Just throw to your best guy. That's all they did in that game, on that Thursday game. I was like, I'm gonna drop back and I'm gonna find DJ Moore and I'm just gonna throw it to him. I don't care if he's double covered.
All right. So as we, we'll look at the midseason update since I haven't really been talking about matchups. So we can get into the kind of the playoff hunt here. So you're alone here at the top at 6-0. You're going into this week. Nick was right there with you at 5-0. But he dropped his matchup to Chris. So now we got a trio here at 5-1 with Ben.
Didn't he only lose by like 4 or 5 points or something?
Yeah, too? Nick. Yeah, they had a really close matchup last week, I think. Yeah, he lost by 3 points basically.
Ouch.
So but yeah, so I feel like the 4 of you guys is like where I put the line right now of like I don't see any of you missing the playoffs. You all are pretty decently up there in points scored. So it's, I mean, what do you think? Yeah, I don't see any of these teams, any of you guys collapsing.
Yeah, I don't, and I mean, props to Nick Corum. Like, I thought maybe he'd be middle tier, but his guys are hitting. A-Chain that we said he reached on, like you said in the chat, like he's been a stud. And I keep wondering, I'm like, man, is he for real? Because he's just breaking like 70-yard touchdowns. I'm like, he can't do this every game, can he? And he just keeps doing it. Maybe it's just that offense, but he's hit on your guys, and so
I mean,
you're earlier than I expected to be in contention like this. So props.
I mean, A-Chain is a guy. I think I said this somewhere. It's like people think like, oh, an NFL player could, go run an Olympic sprint or whatever. Like, DK Metcalf said he thought he could run 100 meters, or people think Tyreek Hill can.
Right.
Devon A-Chain actually can go out on track and probably make the Olympics.
Yeah.
So when you put a guy like that on the football field, he can just make fast people not look fast. Like, I remember seeing a play where Hill was getting, Tyreek Hill's running downfield with the ball, and like A-Chain doesn't even look like he's running, and he just ran past him to like try to help block. And it was like, he doesn't even look like he's trying to run. Like he's just making Tyreek Hill not look fast. And it's just like, if you have that kind of speed, you can just pop off those huge plays because you can get the edge and just be gone.
And when you have their coach who schemes it well, he schemes them into that space.
Yeah. So that'll be interesting to see, Ben's team. He's getting Taylor back, and I feel like he had that week 1 where nobody did anything. His team scored like 12 points. But like since then, I feel like his team's been kind of popping off pretty well.
Let's
look at through bye weeks, because he starts to get his depth gets depleted a little bit here. What were you saying?
And I was just like Tutu Atwell, like he started real hot, but now with cutback, that's gonna hurt him a little bit. Can you go back up a little bit? Yeah, I mean he's got the 3 stud quarterbacks, so that's really good. And then I wonder too, is Zach Moss like?
Right, he's got Moss.
If and Taylor starts taking over, is Moss just obsolete? And so I just kind of wonder, like, he's been lucky, maybe not lucky or good, lucky or good, whatever you call it, with these early kind of random guys. But if those guys fade out, then is he going to have the depth to keep up?
Guys that were doing well because of players missing and injuries, and now those other players are coming back.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, Chris's team quick.
Props to Chris. Chris is like, if I make this trade to you for Jalen Hurts, then I'm basically giving in this year. And then he's sitting at 5-1.
Yeah, I mean, he still has pretty good depth at some of his spots here. It looks like he's in bye week hell this week, but he's got to hope Aaron Jones comes back because he's 5-1 and basically he's gotten nothing from Aaron Jones. So
yeah. And go back up.
Jeff Wilson's too might be coming back.
Yeah, that's pretty decent roster.
Yeah.
Tight end needs help, but most people's tight ends needs help. I need help on tight end.
So then we kind of get into the I'd say the playoff race, quote unquote, for kind of the last two spots. So we had, Nick Stoll is currently in there, back-to-back champ. He's at 4-2. I feel like he's the most vulnerable though. I feel like, especially with losing Justin Jefferson.
Yeah, that hurt.
Yeah, that's going to hurt his team a lot because I feel like a lot of his other pieces aren't performing as well as they have in the past.
I've been trying to get Andrews from him and give him a piece that he can use as immediate starter, but he's not ready to sell Andrews.
Yeah. So he's getting Deontay Johnson back likely this week. Yeah, I mean,
if he can weather the storm,
yeah.
If he can weather the storm with Jefferson and Connor, by the time playoffs come around, he'll have them, hopefully. And Connor just goes off in the playoffs, or like fantasy playoffs for some reason.
Right.
Every year.
Yeah. I mean, he's still 4-2, so he's got some wiggle room. But, yeah, I mean, I feel like, he's definitely got the team that it looks like it's maybe trending down. Kamara hasn't been as good as everybody thought. He kind of just looks like he's a step slow. Derrick Henry, I feel like I've been off Derrick Henry forever and I'm an idiot, but now I feel like it's actually finally, Spears is getting more touches and I feel like they finally have a second running back that they trust to get the ball.
Yeah. So he had a good game last week.
Yeah, but it was mostly one long run.
That's true.
Then you got Andy, who I feel like Andy has kind of underperformed what we thought he was going to do.
And then now he lost Fields for however long.
He lost. So Andy, forever we talked about how Andy had, oh my God, he's got all these quarterbacks. And I feel like now that's his worst part of his team. He's got, Fields is going to be out. He finally got rid of what's his face Trey Lance.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's got Dak. He's basically got Dak and Kenny Pickett, and it's that's not necessarily, but
yeah, I'm a little scared with Dak and Kenny Pickett.
Here's my, probably not that bold, but going into next year, 2024, the number one overall pick in fantasy drafts, calling it right now, the guy that everybody's going to want at 101, Breece Hall.
Yeah, he's been good. Dude, someone in one of my leagues, a 10-team league, granted, but dropped Breece Hall. And so I picked him up immediately, Yeah. And now I have Breece Hall, and it's like, you dropped him?
Yeah. I feel like they've kind of taken the reins off of him, and now he just looks. I felt like last year he looked amazing in his, before he tore his ACL, and he's kind of, even when he was on his pitch count early in the season, he was just making the most of every touch he got, and he just, to me, he just looks so dynamic with the ball. He looks like big and hard to tackle, but also super shifty and
fast.
Like a joystick. You can use your little Madden stick and get him around there.
Well, I mean, Andy's now going to have him ready to go, and he's going to Bijan halfway into the season. Yep. Maybe they start to take the leash off him, and so he probably is going to go up, assuming the quarterback situation can get figured out for him.
Yeah. So then other contenders, probably Doyle's team. He's been a little unlucky at 2-4. He's in scoring wise. He is basically right in the group with Nick, Chris, and Andy, but he's at 2-4. His team's pretty good. I think he, if I was predicting my 6 playoff teams right now, I would say, you, Ben, Nick, Chris, Andy, and Doyle would kind of be the 6 I think are going to make the playoffs. I feel like Nick's team just eventually misses it. He's been thriving on kind of some of these lucky wins, just barely outscoring somebody. And, I just don't think he'll be able to weather the storm of missing Justin Jefferson for as long as he's going to be out.
So you're not calling the Dave comeback?
So I was going to say there's still 2 other teams here that I feel like points-wise look like they maybe could move up. My team here I've scored 683, but my points against 760, which is pretty high. It's right there with like Doyle and I think Dave. The 3 of us have had the most points scored against us. Me, Doyle, and Dave. So I was telling somebody this. I can't remember. I actually looked it up at one point, and it's not in this league. It was in the Trailer Park League, right? So our original league. I told somebody, and they didn't believe me. I said, "Do you know what the most predictive stat that your team has is on whether or not your team will be good?" And people are guessing like, "Oh, having a good running back or a good quarterback or the most." And I said, "Nope. The number one thing that helps you make the playoffs in fantasy football is having the lowest points against."
Makes sense.
That's the number one factor, which to me is just like, cool. It's all luck. Like that aspect of it is just so lucky. Like look at Jesse's ahead of me at 2-4. He scored 200 points less, but he has 150 points against fewer than I do. So he's at 2-4. So fun fact in this league. Here's my vent session, right? We're down to my team. We're on my vent session.
Okay.
So there's only 2 teams in this league this year that have scored at least 100 points in every game, and it's your team and my team. Everybody else had a week under. Now 100 points is an arbitrary cutoff. Like I think Nick Corum's lowest is like 97, and Chris's is like 98. But you know what? It's your story, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, you can call it whatever you want.
But I've been unlucky. I feel like I should probably be 2-4, or at least 2-4, or maybe even 3-3. But
you should maybe make your case then for the league average win.
I make the case every year, and nobody seems to want to do it. So here's my plea: we should do the league median scoring for the reasons I just said, because you can't control what your opponent scores. If we were playing real football and you had a defense you could put on the field to prevent your opponent from scoring, cool. But you don't have that here. I can't go break your player's kneecap and say like, sorry, I was just playing defense. So, all right, my event
or Nick Chubb reference.
Yeah,
I'm still hurting from that.
All right, so we'll look at Dave's team. Dave, despite being 0-5 last week, still would not sell because he said he's a contender. I mean, honestly, I don't hate his logic. He still has what looks like, if we were all at 0-0 right now, I would say Dave's a probable playoff team. The problem is he's just behind the 8 ball. He gets unlucky one week, and all of a sudden, that could ruin him. He still has. I mean, I will say though, yes, I've scored at least 100 points every week. My team's not that good. I've gotten like fluky production from starting like. I'm trying to think of who I've started. Like Chuba Hubbard has been way better than he needs to be,
or will be.
I mean, obviously drafting Laporte has been huge for me. He's been really solid. Kyle Pitts is starting to maybe show a little sign of life there, and so is Drake London. Actually, both of them the last few weeks have kind of like low key been solid. I feel like I now have built a team that's just like. My team is the reason I score 100 points every week is because I just have like 8 guys that just only score 10 points.
But you're not going to score more than 100.
I'm not going to score more than like 120. So it's like this week my team looks awful because I'm hoping Christian McCaffrey doesn't play. Maybe Elijah Mitchell does something. I don't know. But I seem to always have to roll out Tyler Algier because guy still gets like 15 carries every game. So it's like just hope he scores a touchdown. So maybe Deshaun Watson will come back for me. And I'm still waiting on that.
Be decent.
See.
Kyler might come back. That might be a pretty good too.
And their team actually looks better than everybody expected them to look. So I feel like they could bring Kyler back and just kind of it's one of those like we just want to see what Gannon's offense looks like with Kyler as opposed to
Then you get the stack too.
Yeah. And I have Rondale Moore. I could go like double stack. Go to Wendy's and get a double stack.
Is there a way you can look at everyone? So like, can we look at Dave's matchups upcoming somehow? Like, or do you have to like scroll through each time?
Let's see. I think there is. Maybe not. I think it's on the app. You can look.
Okay. I mean, if he can play some of the lower guys like you were talking about, the lower standing guys right now, and he can get a few wins rolling, and then some of those guys that are sitting at 2 or 3 wins,
yeah, I mean,
they run into the higher teams. Then
he plays Doyle this week, so that's definitely not like an easy matchup. That should be. I mean, I honestly think this is a week where it's like make or break for him. He really needs to win that because. So after he plays Doyle, he's got Dennis in week 8. He's got. Where is he? Did I miss him?
Oh, he's got Dixon after that.
He's got Chris, so that's another tough one there. Maybe I was wrong. I think he was telling me that, but sometimes Dave doesn't pay attention. But he plays Matt in week 10. So like 8 and 10, he's got Dennis, Matt. Then he's got Jess. So he still has to play all 3 of them, which is where I think he looks and says like, yeah, I'm going to get those wins. So plays Nick Stoll, which is another,
Yeah, so he still has Chris. He still has Nick. He still has. So, I mean, those are the 3 guys you're talking about. Not Chris, but 2 or 3 of those guys are on the bubble. And however those matchups go, that might ultimately decide the last couple seeds.
Yeah. Whereas, I feel like he thinks he has 3 guaranteed wins against Dennis, Jesse, and Matt, which, I mean, no offense to those guys, but he's probably right, looking at his team and knowing what those teams have.
Right.
So, all right, let's go to week 7 matchups and see if there's anything here that we want to talk about. Like I said, matchup of the week is probably, what we just mentioned, Dave versus Doyle. Dave, it's kind of make or break again. If he falls to 1 and 6, then you're just kind of looking, especially because then he'd lose to Doyle, who's probably the other guy that's on the outside looking in. Right. So then Doyle would move to 3 and 4, and that basically puts him 2 full games behind the other teams he's trying to catch. Right. So if he wins this week and drops Doyle to 2 and 5, then all of a sudden that's a team that's ahead of him that maybe now he moves ahead of. I don't really.
So it's definitely a big. Is everyone pretty full strength, or is there a lot of buys?
Both of them. I mean, they're based on the projected points. It looks like they both are pretty full strength. Let's see if either of them have like significant buy. No, not really.
Ooh, this one could be good.
Yeah, I mean, this is probably Dave doesn't have DeAndre Hopkins, but who cares? Yeah, I mean, it's pretty balanced there. So that should be interesting. I feel like Andy and I both are like injury and bye week depleted, like crazy. So this matchup is just going to be like an absolute shit fest.
He's starting Tyler Badgett.
He's got
Travis or Tyler? Is it
Tyler Badgett?
Tyler.
So I still have Tyrod Taylor, but that's not who it's going to end up there.
Yeah, it would be whoever the Cleveland Browns starter is.
Basically, yeah, whoever starts for Cleveland, I'm going to start. Nick against Dennis, that should be a Nick win, even though Nick's pretty bye week depleted here. Yeah, I just saw Dennis yesterday, and Dennis hasn't updated his lineup. He said basically his involvement in this league at this point is he's going to update his lineup. So don't expect much from Dennis this year. He's kind of in the same boat as me. He's just kind of checked out.
And when he loses Anthony Richardson for the year.
He loses Anthony Richardson for the year. So he still likes his future prospects, which I agree with. He's got Trevor Lawrence and Anthony Richardson locking down those, top 2 quarterback spots. He's got Garrett Wilson. He should probably still try to trade George Kittle. I mean, the boat's kind of sailed, but at least get something.
Yeah. I'd potentially trade you, but Kittle honestly scares me because he's like 3 points or 30.
Yeah.
It's kind of scary.
So he's got pieces that could probably do something. But
Yeah.
so we'll say, that's probably a Nick win. We got Nick still versus Chris. Yeah, I think Nick's pretty bye week hell this week. So he's gonna.
That could be a big matchup too for
Yeah.
Nick Stoll's propositions for the playoffs.
Right, because if he falls to 4-3, now some of these other teams,
Are
he
catching him.
needs wins to kind of keep that leg up. Him and Andy need wins for that, to kind of try to stay ahead of the. You're playing Jesse. This should just. I mean, what are we setting the spread at on this matchup? It's like -60 or something.
What is it right now? It's almost a 70. I'm almost supposed to double the score.
Yeah, it's 55 according to projected points. And then same thing, Ben versus Matt. Ben should just trounce Matt. There's a couple none.
I just want to put this out there that I've been going back and forth if I should start Gino or Jordan Love. And I'm starting Jordan Love solely because I'm playing you.
Oh, I mean, I am 100% about that. That's what you should do.
Yep. It's 100% the only reason.
Bait him out there for Jesse. Like, hey, look at this. So, all right. Any other, since this is the mid-season, any other thoughts, predictions for the rest of the season going forward?
This has been a good year so far. It's kind of been what I expected. Other than I think that Nick Corum's team has been better than expected. And I think Dave's team's been worse than expected. But like we said, it could come back. But if it doesn't come back and make the playoffs this year, then I'm wondering if we see a massive sell-off because he has essentially no future pieces anymore. And so what does he have? Kendre Miller and Lamar Jackson? Does he have anything else that's a future piece? And so a massive sell-off. And so we'll see if that happens. But then at the same time, who's buying? Yeah. Maybe me, but I don't have a lot of buying pieces. Maybe Ben, he's got some firsts and seconds. Who else could buy? I mean, maybe Andy could buy. I don't know what Doyle has.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if Ben actually does use some of that draft capital. I mean, he's sitting at 5-1, but I feel like his depth still could be a question. So if he wants to try to go out and acquire somebody to really vamp his roster to give you a run for your money, and then the other thing I was going to look at was the race for the first overall pick, but it's really not that interesting because Jesse basically just has everybody's picks that are like near the bottom, except for Dennis. That's like Dennis's thing. Dennis has his own pick, so he's like the cog. He's like the wrench in Jesse's plan.
But and he doesn't have Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. But Dennis could get that number 1 pick and see what happens.
So. Jesse, you shouldn't have Puka Nacua. You should trade him away because he's gonna get you too many points.
Well, he did say in the one thing his asking price for Puka Nacua was either Jordan Love or Dennis's first round pick in 2024 because he knows that Dennis is the one kind of pick near the bottom. Because I stopped sharing my screen, but I want to look quick. Of the standings, Jesse has Matt's first round pick, Dave first round pick, mine, his, Doyle's, Andy's. So like all these other teams, he has all their first round picks.
Yeah, so I actually talked to him after he said that, and I was trying to get a little more on top. And then as soon as I traded Hurts, it was like, no, I definitely can't do it anymore because I need multiple quarterbacks I can string. But
yeah,
there was a thought. But I still wasn't sold, and I don't still know if I'm fully sold on Puka because it just seems like I don't know if he's good or he's a product of the offense, or I really don't know. Like, I don't know. Maybe you know more. I haven't watched tons of film about him, but
I think it's a combination of both. I feel like the reason he slipped in the draft, he was always talented, but he was always hurt at Nevada, so he didn't put up a lot of like actual production on the field. So it's hard to know. But I do know some people that I trust that did like him as a prospect and did think that like he was undervalued.
But not like he's
not necessarily
the best wide receiver in the
best wide receiver in the NFL. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. But hey, my boy Zay Flowers starting to turn it on. I'm thinking about starting him over DJ Moore actually this week, so we'll see.
Yeah. As I told you, I'm trying to get him in another league, so I was trying to flip JSN directly for Zay Flowers, but the guy's now being kind of ridiculous with his asking price. So,
sorry.
Yeah, that he'll like only take my projected early second for his third instead of me trying to give him a late second. And I'm like, I don't think it's worth a full round of value.
Right.
They're pretty similarly valued. It's just
Right.
I think Zay will be better for this year, whereas JSN
in the future
might take a little bit longer because of having both Metcalf and Lockett there.
That makes sense.
So I think that'll do it for this episode. So Colin, thanks for joining me, and hopefully I can make this happen again next week. You know, I said just a few things came up, and you know, as much as I like talking to you guys, I had life happen. So see what happens next time, and I'm hoping to do some more trivia with people. I always enjoy that. I got a whole bunch of them made up, so we can get into that. And so that's it for this episode, and I'll see you guys next week.
See you later.